Just 5 days after Diane Keaton died, her 2 kids she adopted, Dexter and Duke, rushed to the lawyer's office to fight over her huge amount of money and stuff. Right after that, Diane's 2 real sisters also showed up, saying they wanted part of what Diane left behind, making everything super messy and stressful. How fast and pushy they were made people ask a lot of questions. Was Diane's death really just from pneumonia like the death papers said? In her last few weeks, she stayed alone, lost weight really fast, kept coughing a lot, and someone called 911 pretty late. All these weird things made her fans worry and wonder. Diane had told her friends, "I have never loved anyone more than my children." But now, with her kids and sisters fighting over her money and things, those words seemed sad and made people ask questions. Did they really love her back, or did they just want her tons of money? Strange choices in her last months, hiding from people, quickly selling her Beverly Hills house and not talking to friends much, made people guess and wonder. Were these moves to keep Diane away from others and make it easier to fight over her $100 million in money and stuff? Let's look at all of this in the video. In the early morning of October 11, 2025, Diane Keaton, the famous American actress, was found feeling very sick at her private house in Santa Monica, California. Someone called 911 and the ambulance people quickly came, taking her to St. John's Health Center. But even though doctors tried to help her right away, Diane died at the hospital at age 79. Her family said the reason was bacterial pneumonia. But right away, many fans and news reporters had questions that nobody answered. The story starts in the months before when Diane slowly disappeared from the spotlights and social media. In the weeks before she died, people said she was clearly getting more and more sick. She wasn't seen walking through the tree-lined streets of Los Angeles anymore, holding her favorite dog, Reggie. A close friend said that her health got worse since early 2025 when she had to leave Beverly Hills because of really bad wildfires. She moved to Palm Springs, a quieter place, but it seemed like bad things were closing in around her. Why would a woman who was always full of energy, happiness, and creativity hide away completely like that? Was she quietly dealing with another sickness? One that her family and friends didn't want to tell anyone about. Pneumonia, doctors say, is not something new or strange. In older people, it can hit really fast like a storm, especially when their body's defense system is weak. Diane, at age 79, was definitely in a group that could get really sick easily. But the weird thing was how fast she lost weight in the last weeks. She lost so much weight, a friend said sadly. Was this just because of pneumonia, or was there another sickness making her body weak? A 911 call on the morning of October 11th said that she was found passed out at home. Why didn't anyone notice she was getting sick sooner? Had she been trying to hide the warning signs? Looking back at Diane's life, it's easy to see she had dealt with health problems before. At age 20, she had to fight skin cancer, basal cell carcinoma, which happened because she didn't protect her skin from the sun in California. Many years later, squamous cell carcinoma showed up and she needed 2 surgeries. She once shared with her famous smile that she had been too careless with her skin. Then there was bulimia, a painful secret Diane bravely told people about in her book. Then, again. In her 20s, the pressure to lose weight for a Broadway show pushed her into cycles of eating too much and hurting herself. 20,000 calories a day, she wrote, fried chicken, fries, sweets, then throwing it all up. Even though she got better from this sickness through therapy, she said she was a recovering addict for life. From these 2 sicknesses, it's clear they weren't connected to breathing problems. So why was Diane's cause of death written as pneumonia? Another detail making people suspicious was the dream home in Beverly Hills that Diane sold. Really quickly in early 2025, this was a place she had once called her forever home and spent years carefully fixing up. Fans and the news people were surprised because Diane was known for her endless love of buildings and design, especially old-style Spanish colonial revival homes. Her choice to leave a place she loved so much made people ask questions. Was this just about money, or were there other personal reasons? Some people close to her said that Diane's fast health decline might have forced her to sell the home. However, the family keeping secrets about her condition made people guess even more. Some wondered if outside pressures from personal relationships or even legal stuff had pushed Diane to leave her beloved home. How sudden and mysterious this decision was created a big gap in the story of her last days. Fans and news reporters began to wonder. Had Diane known something about her future or faced something unexpected that stopped her from staying in the house? The home, once a symbol of her style and personality, now became the focus of a mystery nobody could solve. After Diane died, the family quickly arranged to cremate her and told the public, but they refused to answer any questions about her health or what happened before. This secrecy made many fans and reporters feel like something was being hidden. But everything really blew up when her two adopted kids, Duke and Dexter, rushed to meet lawyers right after Diane died to fight over the estate. Going back to when Diane was in her 50s, when her movie career was still amazing, with famous roles in The Godfather and Annie Hall, she decided to start a surprising new chapter, becoming a single mom. Without getting married or having a partner, Diane went after being a mother through adoption. In 1996, at age 50, she welcomed her first daughter, Dexter, just months after she was born on December 15, 1995. It was a bold, emotional choice, with Diane later sharing that she had never imagined being ready for this role, but it changed her life forever. 5 years later, in 2001, Diane made her family bigger by adopting her son, Duke, born February 8, 2000, when he was just over a year old. At 55, Diane raised the two kids alone in her cozy Beverly Hills home while going on business trips and dealing with Hollywood glamour. Dexter and Duke grew up with their mother's loving care, kept away from public attention, only sometimes appearing at special events like award shows or movie premieres. These moments, like the family photo at Dexter's 2021 wedding, always showed simple warmth and closeness. Everything looked perfect, but that fake picture was ripped apart as soon as Diane died. While the world was sad about the Annie Hall star, her two kids stepped into a tough battle over the estimated $100 million in money and stuff she left behind. What made family bonds break so quickly? Right after Diane Keaton took her last breath on the morning of October 11, 2025, the feeling in the Beverly Hills home stayed sad, full of grief. But within hours, another story started to happen. Her adopted kids, Dexter and Duke, rushed to Diane's lawyer's office. Their goal was to make sure their interests in the huge estate Diane left were protected. On October 16th, Dexter, an ambitious interior designer, left the office of a fancy Los Angeles law firm carrying a thick pile of papers. According to people close to them, she said she deserved the biggest part of the estate because she had been with her mother longer since being adopted in 1996. Her main goal was the Brentwood house, the most valuable of Diane's real estate properties. Fixed up from the 2009 purchase at $4.7 million, Dexter said that she had directly helped her mother with fixing up projects, learned her passion for buildings, and even helped with the book, The House That Pinterest Built. For her, the home wasn't only property, but a symbol of the special connection between her and Diane, a connection she believed no one could replace. Her younger brother, Duke, wasn't going to let her win. A young businessman in the tech industry, he showed up at another law office in Santa Monica with old emails and messages he traded with Diane. Duke believed he deserved the biggest share of cash and movie money, estimated at $40 to $50 million, including profits from movies like Something's Got to Give and her 3 best-selling books. He said that Diane had given money to support his startup projects and had joked that Duke would continue my big dream. He wanted control over the trust fund Diane had set up, believing it would help him build his own empire matching the independent spirit his mother taught him. Although chosen by Diane for love, the bond between Dexter and Duke was fragile and now nearly broken. The reason for fighting, according to insiders, came from the fact that both were adopted. Growing up in the shadow of a Hollywood star, Dexter, 5 years older than Duke, was often taken by Diane to events, sharing her passion for buildings, seeing herself as her mother's spiritual heir. Meanwhile, Duke, independent and business-driven, felt overshadowed, as if Diane's love for him was less deep. A family friend revealed that the two rarely had close conversations, even during holidays at the Beverly Hills home. They don't hate each other, the friend said, but they never truly loved each other like real siblings. That distance now became a trigger as Diane's estate became the only thing bringing them close. But not to make up. The story got more complicated when news came out that Diane had left a detailed will written in 2015 and last updated in March 2025, just before she sold her dream Beverly Hills home. The will managed through a trust named Dexter and Duke as main heirs, but wasn't clear on exact shares. Some people close to her said Diane wanted Dexter to get most of the real estate, while Duke received most of the cash and shares from money investments. The lack of clarity in giving out shares started fights with both believing they deserved more. Soon after, rumors about a donation Diane wanted to make to the LA Conservancy, a building preservation group she had supported for over 20 years, started going around. Dexter strongly disagreed, saying her mother wanted to keep the properties as family heritage, not sell or give them away. She criticized Duke for only caring about cash and not appreciating the cultural value of the homes Diane had spent her life fixing up. On the other side, Duke said Dexter was trying to hoard all assets to protect Mom's artistic legacy while he needed money to continue his tech projects. Tensions reached the highest point when Dexter hired a private lawyer to review the trust, thinking Duke had tried to convince Diane to change her will in her last months when her health was getting worse. Meanwhile, Duke was accused of contacting Diane's real estate partners right after the funeral, trying to figure out new values for properties in Laguna Beach and Arizona, even though they had already been sold. Dexter called this action wrong, while Duke insisted he only wanted to make sure everything was clear and that no assets were missed. Each day was tense, filled with meetings, emails, and angry calls between Dexter and Duke. A close source revealed that the two had even almost exploded at the lawyer's office when accusations and arguments reached personal limits. It didn't stop there. If only the two adopted kids were involved, dividing the estate might have been easier. But even Diane's real sisters started to speak up. Just a few days after the funeral, Dory Hall, the youngest sister around 75, showed up with an unexpected claim. A less-known actress, but always close to her sister, Dory said that Diane had promised to leave part of her estate to support her in her final years. She contacted a Los Angeles lawyer asking to review the will updated in 2015 and changed in March 2025, thinking Diane may have set aside something for her sisters that Dexter and Duke overlooked. Shortly after, Robin Hall, the third sister, around 73-77, also joined the fight. Living quietly in Southern California, Robin rarely showed up publicly. But this time, she broke her silence. Through a tense call with Dexter, Robin demanded a share of money from Diane's books, especially Then Again and Brother and Sister, where both Dory and Robin were mentioned as family supporters. She said that she had taken care of their brother Randy Hall for many years and deserved payment. The battle became even more complicated when Dory and Robin started contacting Duke directly. At a meeting in Santa Monica, Dory bluntly said that Duke should share some cash, emphasizing that they were Diane's blood, not just adopted children. Duke, already tense with Dexter, felt trapped and argued that the trust clearly named the two adopted children as the main heirs, giving the sisters no legal rights. Dexter, meanwhile, was furious at Dory and Robin's interference. She accused the two aunts of jumping in only when they smelled money, saying that Diane had chosen to raise her and Duke as the only heirs. In an email to the lawyer, Dexter wrote that Dory and Robin had lived independent lives and contributed nothing big to Diane's career or estate. She even thought that Dory, once a member of the Actors' Equity Association, may have gotten money support from Diane in the past, but now wanted more. Tensions got worse when Dory and Robin showed up together at a law office in Los Angeles, demanding full disclosure of the will. They questioned money set aside for charities like the LA Conservancy, animal shelters, and food banks the family had supported to make sure their shares weren't redirected. Robin even called Dexter directly, voice shaking but firm, asking for a family meeting to settle things like adults. Dexter refused, insisting that Mom chose us, not the aunts. Duke, though not close with Dexter, surprisingly sided with her in fighting against Dory and Robin's demands. He hired an additional team of lawyers to protect his interests, arguing that Diane had set up the trust to put her two adopted children first, not her real siblings. However, this team-up was only temporary, as Duke still wanted control of most of the cash, while Dexter insisted on keeping the real estate and art collection. The tense hours in the lawyer's office felt endless. Lawyers kept reminding everyone that everything had to be based on the official will, but disagreements only made dividing assets more complicated. An insider revealed that arguments got so heated that on a few times, Dory and Robin almost grabbed each other to attack Duke, but were stopped in time. The most heartbreaking fact was that Diane, who wrote in Then Again that Dexter and Duke were everything to her, probably never imagined her beloved children would turn on each other so quickly. She had tried to raise them with love, but the fact that both were adopted at different times with opposite personalities and life goals seemed to plant seeds of distance. Diane's close friends like Jane Fonda refused to comment on the fight, quietly showing regret that Diane would be very sad to know her children were fighting like this. After her death, Diane left a huge estate estimated at around $100 million. This number is based on earnings from her over 50-year acting career, production, directing, writing, and especially her passion for real estate, which made more money than her acting salary. Diane Keaton's assets were mostly high-end real estate, making up the largest part of her stuff, estimated at over $50 to $60 million from deals and long-term holdings. She was famous as a house flipper specializing in restoring old properties in California, focusing on Spanish colonial revival, mission revival, and mid-century modern styles. Notable assets included the main Brentwood, Los Angeles home, estimated at $20 to $30 million, a Laguna Beach property purchased in 2004 for $7.5 million, sold in 2006 for $12.75 million, a Pacific Palisades villa purchased in 2012 for $5.6 million, sold in 2016 for $6.9 million, and a Tucson, Arizona property sold in 2020 for $26 million. Additionally, she sold a Bel Air villa in 2005 for $16.5 million, a Spanish colonial home in Beverly Hills to producer Ryan Murphy in 2010 for $10 million, and another property to Madonna for $6.5 million. These deals were not only super profitable, but also showed her passion for preserving buildings, earning her recognition from Architectural Digest as the Queen of Hollywood house restoration. Beyond real estate, Diane Keaton's remaining assets came from her entertainment career and different investments estimated at around $40 million. She earned millions from classic films like The Godfather, Annie Hall, Reds, Father of the Bride, Something's Got to Give, and The Family Stone, with an average salary of $5 to $10 million per major project. As a director and producer, she worked on music videos like Belinda Carlisle's Heaven is a Place on Earth and television productions, making additional steady income. Her 3 best-selling books, Then Again, 2011, Let's Just Say It Wasn't Pretty, 2015, and Brother and Sister, 2020, along with public talks and endorsement deals, added another $10 to $5 million. She also invested in photography and interior design with her book, The House That Pinterest Built, inspired by her Brentwood home, creating passive income from royalties and brand collaborations. Regarding investment strategy, Diane Keaton was notable for her long-term and preservation-focused real estate approach starting in the 1980s, when she bought her first apartment in San Remo, New York. She rarely bought to sell quickly, instead spending years fixing up, focusing on forgotten properties at below-market prices, then selling at a profit because of increased historical value. She served on the LA Conservancy Board for 20 years, investing in preservation projects to stop the destruction of building heritage. The fierce battle over assets between her 2 kids only made growing suspicions stronger. Was Diane's death truly because of sickness? Or was there a cold-blooded plot by the very children she loved most? The idea that Dexter and Duke may have hurt their mother to grab her estate sent chills down fans' spines as unusual details from her final months slowly came out. In the last 5 months of her life, Diane almost completely disappeared from public view. She wasn't seen walking with Reggie in Los Angeles anymore, wasn't posting happily on Instagram anymore, and had canceled all public events. Close friends told people that she withdrew to Palm Springs after leaving Beverly Hills because of wildfires, living alone with her adopted children, Dexter and Duke. Not a single photo, not a single post. This silence was super unusual for a woman as energetic as Diane. Had Dexter and Duke intentionally kept their mother in the dark, limiting outside contact to hide her health or even to control her in her final days. Diane's death was publicly announced late, with the public only learning about it when the death certificate was released on October 16, 2025. A 911 call on the morning of October 11th reported she had passed out at home. But why was emergency help delayed until then? Sources said Diane had lost a lot of weight and gotten weaker in the weeks before, showing clear signs of sickness like constant coughing and trouble breathing, typical pneumonia symptoms. However, there were no records of her visiting a doctor earlier. Did Dexter and Duke, her closest companions, deliberately delay medical care? Or did they ignore warning signs, knowing a sudden death would give them access to the huge trust? Bacterial pneumonia, the official cause of death, may not have been as simple as it looked. Medical experts say that in older people, pneumonia often develops from common infections like the flu or cold. But it can also happen from unusual factors like exposure to bacteria in a controlled environment. A scary idea is that Dexter and Duke, living with their mother in her final months, may have deliberately kept her in unhealthy conditions, like not keeping things clean or not giving enough food, weakening her body and making infection more likely. A friend of Diane remembered that she had lost a lot of weight before dying, suggesting she may not have been properly cared for. Moreover, the explosion after death of the estate battle made people more suspicious. An insider revealed that Dexter and Duke rarely got along. Yet both were fully aware of their mother's assets. Diane's unexpected sale of her dream Beverly Hills home in early 2025, while her health was getting worse, may have been because of pressure from her kids to turn assets into cash for easier division. Another notable detail is Diane's mental health in her final months. She had struggled with bulimia and always considered herself a recovering addict for life. Could Dexter and Duke have taken advantage of her psychological vulnerability, especially as she got older, to manipulate financial decisions? Some sources noted that Diane became withdrawn, talked less with friends, and depended heavily on the two children. If they intentionally let her get weaker by not giving medicine, food, or even putting psychological pressure, pneumonia may have served only as a final excuse, hiding a long-term plan to make sure she died before changing the trust. The biggest question remains motivation. Dexter and Duke, though loved and raised by Diane, grew up in the shadow of a Hollywood star. As adopted children, they may have felt pressure to prove themselves worthy of her legacy both emotionally and financially. Dexter, passionate about interior design, wanted to keep the Brentwood house as a symbol of her bond, while Duke, a tech entrepreneur, needed cash to chase his dreams. Could they have gone so far as to hurt their mother to reach their goals? There is no direct evidence, but the urgency of their estate struggle, Diane's isolation, and the delayed emergency call are all suspicious pieces. Fans immediately gathered on Reddit, Twitter, and lots of social forums, sharing chilling theories. Many believe the actress's death was not simply pneumonia, but involved her two adopted kids, Dexter and Duke. The theory is so believable that anyone hearing it gets chills. In her final months, Diane Keaton lived alone at her Palm Springs villa, staying away from public events and almost only talking with her adopted kids. Dexter and Duke, both carefully planned for months, using Diane's trust and love. Dexter, passionate about interior design and attached to the Brentwood home, often took care of her pretending to be concerned, while Duke, ambitious in business, regularly gave financial and investment advice, gaining Diane's trust. They started by controlling Diane's living environment. Meals were poorly made, lacking nutrition, while medications and health care were handled badly. Diane got weaker, lost weight fast, and got tired easily, yet still believed her kids were taking proper care of her. Dexter and Duke kept up an appearance of concern, but every action was calculated to slow her life and weaken her body. Slowly, they kept Diane away from friends and longtime colleagues. Her social life almost disappeared. Walks with Reggie, calls, and social media posts were limited. The adopted kids often reminded Diane of how weak she was, that she needed to rest at home and avoid outsiders, making her completely dependent on them. By September 2025, as Diane started showing clear signs of sickness, constant cough, trouble breathing, severe weight loss, Dexter and Duke kept the plan going. They did not call a doctor in time, just watched her condition carefully enough to make sure events happened according to their pre-planned schedule. Whenever Diane complained of being tired, Dexter gave false comfort while Duke handled documents and assets, making sure all wills and trusts stayed under their control. On October 11, 2025, Diane suddenly got really bad. The adopted kids did the final step in the plan. A 911 call was made too late when her body was almost unable to move. By the time ambulance people arrived, it was too late. The death certificate listed bacterial pneumonia as the cause, but in reality, it was the result of being weak for a long time and a carefully controlled living environment run by Dexter and Duke. Right after her death, they jumped into a legal battle to claim Diane's huge estate. Their coordinated actions made sure everything went smoothly. Assets were controlled, power centralized, and other family members, including Dory and Robin, were kept out of all decisions. Diane's real sisters tried to claim rights from the trust, but Dexter and Duke flatly refused, protecting the estate and financial control. They had prepared ahead of time, knowing every necessary step to secure their share and remove obstacles from the family. Everything happened like a carefully planned family crime. While fans still believe Diane Keaton died because of sickness, the reality is that every detail had been controlled by Dexter and Duke to make sure of the final goal. All assets fell into their hands. When it was over, Diane left in silence, leaving a huge legacy to her two adopted kids as they had dreamed. The story became a perfect crime. No legal evidence, no clear trace. Yet everything happened exactly as planned, keeping Diane away from others, weakening her body, controlling assets, and removing obstacles. If the idea that Dexter and Duke caused Diane Keaton's death is true, the story is deeply tragic. Diane, who chose to become a mother at 50, had given her heart and soul to her adopted kids. She adopted her daughter Dexter in 1996 and son Duke in 2001, not only giving them a home, but also making sure they had the best conditions for a normal life away from Hollywood spotlight. The love Diane gave to Dexter and Duke was deep and real. She once said that motherhood was the humblest experience that completely changed herself and always tried to give her kids a fairly normal life, avoiding unnecessary attention. If the painful theories on Reddit and social media are true, being betrayed by the very people she loved most to grab her estate would be a shocking blow, chilling fans and everyone who admired Diane. The after-death battle for Diane Keaton's estate remains something the public focuses on. Dexter and Duke, the two adopted kids, jumped into tense negotiations with lawyers, fighting for ownership from valuable real estate to cash, investment shares, and book royalties. Meanwhile, Dory and Robin, Diane's real sisters, also entered the fight, demanding rights and payment for years of family care and being with Diane throughout her life. Each believed they deserved the most, and every meeting and call made the family picture more complicated and tense. With sharp conflicts and questions surrounding Diane's will, the question many still ask remains unanswered. Who will finally inherit the actress's estate? Will the rights favor the two adopted kids who lived with their mother for years, or the real sisters who were close from childhood? Only time and court decisions can answer. For those interested in such drama-filled stories and wanting to follow the next developments of the Keaton family, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to not miss any updates.